Welcome to another episode of What's Working in E-Commerce. I'm your host, Egan Heath from Caravan Digital. We help direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands sell more online through paid search, paid social, and email automation. Today, I'm excited to talk with you about selling on Amazon in Europe. We have an expert named Anton Hermann from SPACEGOATS. Anton, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Wait, man, you have such a great radio voice. It's insane. We just had a chat before, and this voice is just perfect for radio. So I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you. I'm riding high because I didn't flub the intro like I usually do. So this is really a good day for me. Anton, tell us about SPACEGOATS. Tell us about what you do, but also tell us about the name if you can.
Yes, thanks for the question. So we at SPACEGOATS, to simply understand it, we sell other companies' products through our Amazon account all over Europe and UK, and soon with the beta disclaimer, also in the States. So you have a nice product, you can come to us and we will distribute it all over the place and figure out the bureaucracy stuff, the VAT stuff. Everything is not needed with us anymore, in simple words. And yeah, there were like two questions. The second question is why SPACEGOATS, but you need to understand what we're doing to understand the name. So goat is like the animal, which always want to climb up. So everybody knows the goats which are standing next to the mount or on the mountains and always want to go up. Goat is also greatest of all time. So our customers are our goats, basically. We also call them like that. And we give them the space to do so, and so together we are the SPACEGOATS.
I love it. I love it. Well, as I told you as we were chatting before, at my agency, we help people get more traffic to their e-commerce website. Anytime I talk to an Amazon expert, I'm learning new things. You're our first ever Europe Amazon expert. So I'm going to be asking dumb questions and, hopefully learning alongside the audience here. We've got people on YouTube. We've got people on an audio podcast. A question that comes up for me is if someone is selling products on Amazon and they're in the US, let's say, and they've got a successful brand on Amazon and maybe on their website, how come they can't just sell in Europe on their own? What's the barrier there?
There are a couple of barriers, especially for non-European Union companies. So the first barrier, in general, maybe as a disclaimer up front, the European Union, it looks for the Americans that it's one country, but it's unfortunately not. There are like many different countries with their own legislation. There are similarities because of the European Union, but still everybody cooks its own soup. Okay, so that to know, we can deep dive into what are the bureaucratic hurdles. So the first issue is that as soon as a product is sold in the European Union, it must have a company liable for the product which is actually located in the European Union. I'm not talking about Europe, I'm talking about the European Union. It means Switzerland, has the same issue as an American guy has. So you would need to find a partner which takes your product, imports the product for you, importer of record, imports the product, pay the import VAT, and allows you to use their company address on the packaging, and as soon as something happens, this company is also liable for the product. And that's, I would say, the biggest obstacle in selling in Europe, because there are not many services which do exactly that one. And the second biggest obstacle to sell alone in the European Union is the VAT registration. I know in the States you have like 52 states, I guess. Hopefully I am correct. And each of the
50, yep.
Okay, so plus Costa Rica is a different story. In Europe we have the German marketplace, we have the Spanish marketplace, we have the French marketplace, the Italian marketplace, the Swedish marketplace, the Polish marketplace, the Dutch marketplace. It's just for the European Union, and the UK marketplace as well. In every country, you need a VAT number upfront before you even can sell the first product, and that's different in the States. I know in the States you can just start selling, tracking your revenues, and pay the VAT afterwards at some point when you reach some threshold. And in Europe, you have to have everything upfront, and that's these two things I would say are the biggest obstacles. Also, everything is solvable, but there are many other details which we can deep dive into in the next.
Got it. Yeah, and this is again maybe a dumb question, but It sounds like so VAT. Those are basically tariffs. Those are taxes on imports when people in the U.S. try to sell in different European countries. Do I have that right?
VAT is like the sales tax in the States. So basically, when you sell a product, for example, you are in Spain and you want to sell a product to a Spanish end customer, you need a VAT number in Spain because you sell the product for a net price, let's say 10 euros, and you have to put on this 10 euros 20% VAT, and that's your invoice. And this VAT, which you collect from the end customer, you need to forward to the VAT office in Spain, and this is what you have to do for each country every month. And that's why it makes it so complicated. So when we are talking about VAT registrations for all over the European Union, we are talking about at least $1,000 per month, something like that, just for the operational work. What you said is like you're importing the products to the European Union, and at this point you need to pay the import VAT. Okay, you will get it back afterwards, so you can balance it with your incomes. So that's an outcome basically, and you can balance it with the income, but you have to pay it up front. And to do so, you need a VAT number in the country where you're importing the stuff.
So European countries hate business and they want to make it difficult. Is that right?
I'm telling you, that's so true that you cannot believe how true it is. We have so big issues right now with all this crisis and blah blah blah, and we still make more bureaucracy, and everybody wants a piece of the cake. And yeah, you're right.
I just like to be a jerk American when I can. We certainly deserve as much over here too, so we'll keep it apolitical otherwise. Okay, so this is complicated. In each country an Amazon, seller is selling in, they need a VAT registration in that country, basically. Is that right?
To make it a bit more complicated, in every country, you're storing the product and sending it to the end customer. And as Amazon allows you or helps you to store the products all over Europe and has warehouses all over Europe, you need to have a VAT number in every warehouse, in every country Amazon has a warehouse in. That's one option. And as I said, to make it more complicated, you could also export, for example, from Germany to Spain. You have other disadvantages, and then you can pay to one single entity in Germany, which will forward the money to Spain. Basically, super easy. One-stop shop is the name of this new system. Google it up. It makes life a bit easier, but not for Amazon sellers.
Gotcha. Yeah. So the regulation here and the taxes really make things challenging to sell over there. So we understand that piece. There is sort of an equivalent in the U.S. We had a ruling recently about sales tax, and different states can charge different taxes on e-commerce. And so as merchants reach that size and they're selling enough in each state, they may owe additional taxes per state. And so we have some headaches here as well. I'm not sure how they compare to what you're describing, but just wow, I imagine there's plenty to build a business on and provide value there. So it sounds like you guys are helping bridge that gap. And in general, U.S. sellers then are not selling directly on Amazon. Sorry, go ahead, Antoine.
What I wanted to say is you can do it afterwards. So you can first sell and then get the numbers. And here you need to have everything up front. And plus, if you're just selling on Amazon in the States, Amazon will forward the sales tax to the government, and you don't need to do so. So it's much easier than in Europe, still in the USA, if you compare it like that.
So this is challenging. And then when you guys are selling people's products, you said it's under your Amazon account. It's not under the brand's account. Is that correct? Is there a SPACEGOATS, Amazon EU store? Okay.
Yes, we have our own account, but would use the brand of the customer so that the listing and the brand still belongs to the customer. If he, for example, is big enough in a couple of years and want to do it himself, then he can just transfer the ASIN to his account, and he will get all the history of the product, the reviews and everything. So we are the seller, but the brand on the product stands for itself.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Can you tell us a story about a client you guys work with? You don't have to name the specific client if that's not appropriate, but just paint the picture of what were they doing? They were interested in Europe. They started working with you. Like, what does that look like? Tell us the story a little bit.
So normally our main target, or where we actually started, were like German sellers which wanted to sell in other European companies. They are not even not from the EU, so they are from the EU, and even for them the VAT hassle I was talking about was already too complicated. There we have many nice stories where we basically expanded a German the Amazon business, which was already running, to other European Union to other European Union marketplaces. About the Americans, about the American customers, or not, for example, a Canadian one. In the beginning, we did a potential analysis. So if you're an American Amazon seller, you know the drill, you know how the market works, you know how to find the margins, how to find new products, and blah blah blah. But you don't have that much knowledge about the other European market, about European marketplaces. You have different languages. You have in every single country, believe that. Another language, a different language. So I was talking about 7 European Union countries, so you have like 7 languages. So what we did is we checked his products. He sent us his product portfolio. We checked the product portfolio first from the financial perspective. So what are the expected sales prices? Can we get the expected sales prices? If we get the expected sales prices, how big is our margin? Is the project worth it? How much would the logistics cost be? How much would be the advertising cost, and so on and so forth? So first we go into the financials and we see if which product is running and which you should avoid. For example, we had a customer. He was selling some. I don't want to tell the precise product, but something for the hair. And in Europe, people are not using that kind of product at all. Here's another a substitute product which is different to that one, but that's what Europeans are using. So we checked the products, we saw this product we would recommend, this yes, this no, this yes, this no, and then we go into the sales estimation. And in the sales estimation we check every marketplace and give a educated guess, so to speak, how many sales are possible for each marketplace. With this all being said, we go into final presentation. In the final presentation, we on the one hand side figure out the financials, figure out the potential, and also create a roadmap with our customers. So that's what we did. We arranged translations for the product. Even UK is not the same language as USA. Yes, you actually need to translate it, not too much, but a bit to the UK marketplace. So that's what we did. We picked, I can't remember, 4 to 5 products. We created the content. We took the images, and that's also another thing. You're in the States. You're much more. You get catched by lights, by strong colors. Here, everything must be a bit more under the. A bit more undercover, so to speak, more natural colors. So we need to adjust the design of the North American listings to actually Europe, because otherwise it will not work out. If we see an American product, we always think that's cheap, because and the reason for this is because in the past, the television shopping channels,
Infomercial, yep.
and that's what the American shows are running in Europe. And when we see it, we always think on, this cheap American trash products. And then we combine this, and even though that's a normal American design, and that's why we needed to translate the packaging, a different design, plan the logistics. The production was in China, as I remember, and then we picked up the products in China, imported them to Europe, launched them, and the customer is happy and everything is cool.
Wow, there's a lot to that. And something that's so funny what you said in there is American graphic design and marketing looks cheesy, looks cheap to Europeans, and so you have to do different product photography?
Yeah, and I would recommend it. It's really different. If you look on supplement cans or something like that, they are normally different in Europe than in the States. Less colors, bit cleaner, but not always, of course. If you take the Apple design, It's perfect. It's awesome. Of course, that's not always the same, but I would say the generic American product is a bit over the top for the European market. It will not. It's not a deal breaker, but that's a thing you can definitely optimize your product.
Wow, that is my favorite thing I learned today. Thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting. It sounds like it's the product photography, but even packaging and everything about design. You gotta rethink most likely if you're in European markets. Wow,
Yeah, just less is more.
we don't understand that in the U.S. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, more is more. I mean, more is more, right? So I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Wow. So you guys are doing a lot there. I'm sure I'm not even capturing all of it, but you're going the internationalization. You're handling the regulation and the VAT, the tax piece. You're handling the so in some cases the photography or the design. You're doing the languages. There's a lot of internationalization going on there. A lot of strategy that goes into this.
And customer support also in the different languages. And you also have to know that some European countries, they don't like English. They don't like to speak English because their proud was hurt by Great Britain. I'm talking about France now. They are still like, okay, they can speak English, but they don't want to. You go to a restaurant sometimes in France and you start speaking English because I'm German, I cannot speak French. And they just don't want to speak with you if you're not speaking French, stuff like that. So the language part is super important here. They're very proud of their language.
We're running into national pride, all kinds of barriers. Anton, this is a lot of work. Is it worth it?
It depends on the product. That's why you should do a good analysis up front. I would say not for definitely not for every product. For a smaller piece of products, it is worth the effort, I would say. But you need to find the gold nuggets, and for them you can definitely make money here. Yes, because we have here in the marketplace countries, we have here like 300 million people, almost like the USA, with also pretty high purchasing power. So it's not like Asia also, right? It's still I don't want to be messed up now, but it's a first world area where the salaries are pretty high, purchasing power is pretty high. So a big market, and that's why everybody wanna get into the market. Same as in the USA, of course.
Big markets, affluent, a lot of barriers, a lot of challenges. That's what you guys help clients with. Can you give us a little taste too of a client got to the other side of this and it was all worth it? Like, what kind of sales then are clients doing once they jump through all these hoops with you?
It totally depends. I know that's a lawyer answer, but it totally depends on the product. There are products which could run here better than in the States, but normally the competition here is lower than in the States. If you want to have some number, I would say 20% of the States must be possible, at least, maybe more. So of the States revenues. Yeah, if you make 100K in the States, you should minimum make 20 here or 30, so that the project is worth the effort. Otherwise, you can just stay there and get a new product. So that's also possible.
Gotcha. Well, Anton, I know we've kept it high level today. I'm just an amateur on this. You're an expert. Is there anything else I should ask? Is there something that people should be thinking about, as they consider European markets?
Yeah. So first of all, why doing it? Why going into the European Union? As I said, big market in general, big market with the high purchasing power. We have similar legislation between the different countries. As I said, not the same, but similar. For example, you have like the CE logo. It's some kind of product compliance logo. You can use it all over Europe, stuff like that. So we have similar legislation, but not the same. And with Amazon, you don't need to manage multiple warehouses if you are registered everywhere VAT-wise, which is nice that you just stock one Amazon marketplace and Amazon distributes the product for free all over the Europe, and you just need to handle one stock situation. That's the second point. Revenue growth is pretty obvious, and what right now is a big trend. I don't know if it's in your field also a trend with all these buyers, Amazon business buyers like the Thrasio and all these companies, which aggregators, which are running around and buying businesses. There's a rule of thumb which I learned. 30%, if you have 30% revenues on a different channel, what also could be Amazon Europe, then your business is diversified. At least then your business is diversified, and then your multiple be also higher. It means if you make 1 million in the States and 300K in Europe, then you have like this minimum threshold. Then your multiple will not be 2, but maybe 2.2 or 2.3 or something like that. And this multiple applies on the full company, on the total company, and that's why the revenue growth would be like the value growth of your company will be influenced more than just with the sales you make. That's also something I learned from the aggregators. And now we have to talk about the obstacles, at least for 2 more minutes, what you need to take care of. So we covered a responsible person's address. That was the company liability thing, what I mentioned in the beginning. Then the VAT stuff, but you have also product compliance requirements, what you need to figure out in Europe. So every product which is sold here in Europe, we take product compliance super serious. So that's also a difference what you can take as a nugget with you. In the States, you can just start selling and do your stuff. Nobody really cares. But if something happens, then you pay. Then you pay a lot. And that's what we as Europeans are super afraid of when we expand to the States, because you have like this, the claims, and it can goes into the million. Here it's different. You need to have all this regulation certifications and blah blah before you start selling. But if something happens, the fines are not as big as in the States. So that's a huge difference in my opinion. So product compliance is a thing, and language, of course. So every country has a different language, has a different culture, different products. They are buying different market types. So
in another life, I was going to be a professor, and one of the concepts in social theory was called the risk. I think it was a risk society by a guy named Beck. And it talked about how different countries, different cultures have the liability is placed somewhere else. Like you're talking about in the US, later there's a class action lawsuit. You can get in trouble. Your product was dangerous. Your toys were toxic or whatever. In Europe, you're kind of facing that barrier first. You have to prove that it's safe before you can even sell it. So that's pretty fascinating. Anton, tell us a bit about Stuttgart. I think that's where you are in Germany. For people who don't know it, why should they check it out, and what's there? Tell us a bit about where you are.
One story about that one. When I was visiting the States, I visited my friend. He was studying at Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I arrived in the airport. It's like Stuttgart. Yeah, I said like, there's where Mercedes comes from. The lady at the airport said it. I say yes, and Porsche. And she was like, no, Porsche is American. I said no, Porsche is not American. Porsche is not American. Porsche comes from Stuttgart. So what is Stuttgart about? It's an area where you have high salaries, good jobs, a lot of industry, and it's one of the most expensive areas here, and a bit better weather than the rest of Germany. I would say that's like the only benefit. Other than that, if you don't look for a job, or if you don't want to go to the Mercedes Museum or the Porsche Museum, then I don't think that's the place to be. To be honest, go to Berlin, then you will have the fun of your life. I would prefer this one.
All right, fair enough. You heard it here first. Anton, I don't know how anyone does any business in Europe, but apparently they do. Who's a good person to reach out to you? Tell us a bit about, who should reach out to you guys over at SPACEGOATS.
Yeah. So as a beginner, I always recommend focus on your core business and get more products into the market first. So if you have one product which is running more or less, that's not the right time to expand to another continent. It's not even the time to expand from Germany to France. It's not. It's just not the time for it. So if you have an established Amazon business, or if you have an established brand which is relevant for Amazon, and you want to go the next step, become a global brand or whatsoever, then you need some money in the pocket for all that stuff what I explained, the translations and blah blah blah. So it's not free, of course. But if you want to have a number, if you make 50 to 100K per month in the States, then you can start considering going to Europe, and then we can definitely help you out with this, either with just the potential and project analysis what I pitched before, or with the complete setup. It's up to you what you need.
That's great. Thanks for giving those guidelines. It sounds like this is a great way to increase your revenue, diversify that revenue, potentially increase your multiple if you sell your business to an aggregator. That's awesome. I see you guys are at spacegoats.io. Is that the place for people to find you?
Correct. Or directly Anton at spacegoats.io, or you can also follow me on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's also possible. Because right now we're making a bigger approach to American sellers, because the problem we are solving with our system is the biggest for non-European companies, and that's why we're focusing on that kind of customers right now.
Love it. All right. Anton Herman's from SpaceGoats. Anton Hermann, from SpaceGoats. Thank you so much for coming and sharing what's working in e-commerce.
Thanks for having me, and all the audience. Have a great evening, great day, great night, great whatever. Thank you very much.